everyone, this is Majbin Baloch from Pakistan and you're watching my YouTube channel Insani Ittihad, which aims to invoke a little bit of humanity in all of us through awareness and understanding. So continuing my views for the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, I wanted to add few more thoughts to this. So it was great that Naftali Bennett, the Israeli Prime Minister, visited Putin in Kremlin and spoke to Zelensky, and then the French Prime Minister Macron, and then other world leaders are kind of talking sense to Putin, who has the upper hand in terms of this conflict, because they're the ones who attacked and entered their forces into Ukraine. I wanted to highlight some reporting by the Indian, it's still the Indian factor there. Sometimes when I listen to their reporting and their analysis and those social media influencers talking about this conflict, I get this feeling that they are just eagerly waiting if the Chechens or the Russians or anyone just kills Zelensky, or Putin dies, or there is a nuclear attack on Russia or Europe, or they're just waiting. They're sitting in front of their bhagwans and saying, please make sure any of the leaders makes a mistake and it becomes either it's World War III, so the West is destroyed because they kind of hate them for creating Pakistan and Bangladesh and dividing their country into 3 countries, and especially giving it to Muslims, which it's like they cannot tolerate that. Or just it will give them or Zelensky sort of surrenders, and Putin successfully kills all the Ukrainian army, all the Ukrainian men, and then annexes Ukraine. So it only because if it will give India the courage and encouragement that we can do this to Bangladesh and Pakistan, we can annex them and this. But it's such a pitiful situation and a sad situation. Like, for example, I would share the link of this Hindustan Times, I guess, I don't know, Hindustan Times. That is the channel, and they have put up this video of reporting in regards to who is supporting Putin, or who is standing with Putin in regards to this war. So they do highlight the nations which actually voted in favor of Putin. That is Syria, Venezuela, Belarus, Cuba, who have voted in favor of Putin. But they don't mention these countries in the beginning of the video. So here's what they do. They put China. Okay, so China in Security Council voting against Putin and Russia, they abstained, just like India abstained, and just like UAE abstained from voting either in favor of Ukraine or in Russia. So they highlight, first of all, the half of the video is regarding how much Putin and how much China and Xi Jinping actually loves Russia, and they inaugurated the Russian president inaugurated the Winter Games and blah blah blah. And China is very close to Russia, and it is supporting actually Putin. When if you want to highlight nations which abstained from voting, then highlight India also, UAE also. But no, they highlighted China first, and then they highlighted Iran. Iran is not in UN Security Council. Baruch Hashem for that, and I wish never goes into that club of countries. But Iran is in the United Nations, and again there are 32 nations which abstained from voting in favor or against Russian aggression. it is part of the 32 nations for the resolution against Russian invasion of Ukraine in UN. So Iran is that country which abstained to vote, just like India and 31 other countries. While there were 6 countries: Venezuela, Syria, Belarus, Cuba, and North Korea, and what else? There was one other, Eritrea, I think. Eritrea, something, some kind of small country. So they voted in favor of Putin. So okay, fine. Iran, you highlighted Iran. Now we have to see why they highlighted China and Iran, particularly in this video. So the reason for highlighting China is obvious, because India wants to portray China is the evil power and all the West should gather up and kill China, bomb China, nuclear China, kill every single Chinese, because the Indians are just so scared of fighting them one-on-one. So by the way, I have to mention this. I don't know if the world knows it. Between the India and Chinese border, they have a treaty. And that treaty says that no firearms will be given to the border forces who manage these 2 countries' borders. And here is India telling the West, please bring your bombers, your aircraft carriers, and can you please kill this person for me? He's actually irritating me. And actually, China is not our enemy. It's the enemy of the West. But it has border disputes with India, but it's the enemy of the West. You have to understand. This is how world propaganda works. Ladies and gentlemen, see this. This is how you do advocacy. Yeah. So, and then you wonder, well, why Iran? So, ironically, Iran has very amazing relations with India, and also Israel. Both start with I. Actually, 3 of them start with I. So Israel has very good relations with India, and so does Iran. Ironically, Iran and Israel don't stand each other. They are arch enemies. And what this other I, India, does, it says to the Iranians, we're with you. And then they go to the Israelis, no, baby, we're with you. So, I mean, instead of being the mutual friend, it should talk sense to Iran and say, wrap up your, nuclear programs and this and that, and just have good relations with. But no, India goes on to lecture and, hypnotize and tries to tell UAE, you see, it's beneficial economically to rob off these Jews and take advantage of their mind, and they're very intellectual. Why don't you make relationship with them and recognize them, take their knowledge, take their money? I mean, greed-based, self-interest, selfish attitude towards international relations. I love this idea, by the way. Gewildig. I'm being sarcastic, highly. So, so instead of working and talking sense to Iran that please wrap up your nuclear programs, you're already under sanctions, you have economic disparity. Why are you, creating this terror-based, have some sensibility. Okay, you don't want to love Israel, at least wrap up your nuclear program and have decent relationship, responsible and accountable relationship with the world, with the West, with the sensible world. And this terror-based, this radical Islamic ideology is not going to work. And besides, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, these Sunni countries are already, redesigning their, image. Why don't you do the same? But no, he mentions this, that in Iran is particularly anti-West and is favoring Putin. Now, I sometimes feel that countries who are friends with India are more in danger than countries who are enemies of India, because it's like, and then you need to understand, why does India does this to Iran? Well, India has economic ties with Iran, and all the Indian businessmen think that if once Iran is destroyed and attacked, and it's more poverty there, and their social and the whole structure, the social and religious structure collapses, it will be easier for the Hindus and the Indians to penetrate into this Iranian society and sort of, and then again use Iran to capture Pakistan. So they never got rid of Pakistan and Bangladesh separating from. So they're like, they are this obsessive compulsive disorder, which also, well, by the way, I also have obsessive compulsive disorder, not of this sort, but of cleaning and neatness and whatever. Anyway, so they highlight these two countries out of the context and then start talking about the other six countries which actually voted in favor of Russian aggression in the UN. So my point was, you are India and UAE also voted, abstained, just like China and Iran. Then why is that half of the video of Hindustan Time talking about that? It's because your interests are there. You don't have interest in Belarus and Cuba and this and that, so you don't mention them. Ironically, Xi Jinping on another Indian media outlet, which is WION, Xi Jinping is talking to the German Chancellor and the French Prime Minister Macron and discussing how, and Macron is actually encouraging China that you have influence over Russia. Please talk to Putin. Please talk to Russia to, sort out this situation. And Xi Jinping does say that, this is saddening to see Europe is going through this bloodshed and restraint should be maintained, which is a good message. I don't see that message coming from Modi because it doesn't go in the interest of India, because obviously India wants to do the same, exact same to Pakistan and Bangladesh. And it breaks my heart to say this as a Pakistani army, which they did in Bangladesh, that they surrendered to the Indian army, and before that they were killing the Bengalis brutally. Okay, fine, you were isolated in a foreign sort of a land where, but if Pakistani army, which, it hates, it breaks my heart, and it hurts for me to say that khas vashalan if India attacked. And by the way, Indian army, Indian government, if you have balls, and I reiterate, if you have balls, that is testicles, and guts to attack Pakistan, don't use Zelensky, his death, or Ukrainian destruction just to find a bait or decoy for your assumptions and aspirations. Have some balls, have some guts, have some testicles, and attack Pakistan. Have a one-on-one war and say, yes, we want to annex you. And Pakistani army, please, you also should have testicles, balls, and guts to fight like Zelensky. And poor Zelensky didn't even have nuclear bombs. We have nuclear bombs. So I hope and I pray that the Pakistani army is not a army of gay and lesbian people. Nothing against them. Love them, but they are socialist. I mean, they have this socialist kind of ideology that they live in La La Land and there are unicorn running around all and the real world is not like that. So I wish that Pakistani army is man enough to fight like the Ukrainian men fought the war against this superpower. And I hope and pray that Pakistani army has the guts and balls to use nuclear weapons against the Indians, because this is the justification that we give to the entire world, that we want minimum deterrence of nuclear armaments, and we are scared that one day India would annex us and use nuclear arms against us, and we are scared and we want it for minimum deterrence. And in case we go into a war with India, at least we would have nuclear armaments. So use them. Be men, India and Pakistan. If you want to fight it over with yourself. Do not fool the West. Do not fool the world. Do not do this at the cost of poor Ukrainian and their Jewish president Zelensky. So stop this bullshit and low life mentality and be men. Okay, so you watch the video which I will put in the zinc. Actually, there are two videos, and see how this greed, selfish, pathetic propaganda, which actually disgusts me. I've been in India and I had received a lot of respect and love from them, but now India and with this kind of thing disgusts me, and it's sad, very sad. So I hope I have offended so many people, and I'm not sorry for that. So have a good evening, day, or whatever. Pray for peace. Don't be stupid. Pray for peace. Pray for safety of the families of both Putin and Volodymyr. Putin and Zelensky, both are Volodymyrs. Pray for the security of both Putin and Zelensky, their families, their country, men and women. Let's stop this war. Let's stop it now.